After returning from a medical aid mission in the countryside, I discovered that my wife, whom I hadn't seen in 6 months, was pregnant. Rumor had it that the father was a tall, rich, and handsome man, someone I could never compete with. When I finally saw what this supposed lover looked like, I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. This man had visited my clinic just the day before, pleading with me to treat his hemorrhoids. "Doctor," he begged, "I have a boyfriend. For the sake of our future together, could you avoid using staples and just stitch me up?" Chapter 1. I accidentally came across Emily's ultrasound report, which clearly indicated an 8-week gestation. It felt like a lightning bolt had struck me, and my heart started pounding wildly. There was no way this child was mine. So whose was it? My first thought was that she'd been assaulted. I quickly ran through all the possible scenarios in my mind. Who could the father be? Did they carry any other diseases? Had she taken HIV post-exposure prophylaxis? Why hadn't she used emergency contraception? After a moment of panicked speculation, I sank onto the sofa, dismissing all those initial thoughts. Ever since I returned from the medical aid mission, Emily hadn't spared me a single kind look. Instead, she often sat with her chin propped in her hand, lost in daydreams, biting her lip and smiling secretly. She'd curl her toes as she delicately held her phone, practically radiating the aura of someone deeply in love. This was in stark contrast to the coldness, impatience, and disdain she showed me. It was obvious she was having an affair. Just as I was thinking this, a waft of perfume drifted by, and there was Emily, all dressed up, putting on her high heels at the entrance. I instinctively asked, "Going to work?" She mumbled, and with that, she opened the door and left without so much as a glance in my direction. Lies, plain and simple. It was Saturday. Who works on a Saturday? Chapter 2. I couldn't just stay at home and wallow. I had to find out who was behind this betrayal. So, I put on my sunglasses and headed out, quietly trailing her. She walked with a bounce in her step, clearly in high spirits. When she reached the shabby entrance of our apartment complex, she deftly flicked her shoe to avoid the dirt and slipped through quickly. Even from 5 meters away, I could feel her disdain for the place. Admittedly, it was an old, run-down complex from the 90s with moldy walls. But this was my home, the place where the woman I loved lived. Despite its flaws, I cherished it. Emily made her way to a nearby Starbucks. She didn't seem to care if I found out, since this was a place I passed by every day on my way to work. She probably knew I'd never splurge on a coffee here, usually sticking to instant coffee instead. I sat down on the other side of a tall potted plant, a jumble of emotions crashing over me: that anger, confusion, sadness, reluctance, and even a faint glimmer of hope. In short, it was a chaotic mess of feelings that felt like they were suffocating me. I downed an iced coffee in 5 seconds, barely managing to pull myself together. Soon, her companion arrived, but it wasn't her lover. It was her best friend, Sophia. Sophia had always looked down on me, never missing an opportunity to badmouth me. Still, seeing her brought me a small measure of relief. At least it wasn't her lover. Maybe there was another explanation. As expected, the two women started chatting, and it wasn't long before the conversation turned to me. "That guy who deals with, he still hasn't caught on, has he? I'm telling you, why are you still with him? He's in his 30s and still can't afford a house. You were the belle of the school, and you think he deserves to drag you through this miserable life? Listen, you've got to seize this chance. You're already pregnant, and the next step is to marry into a wealthy family. Alexander is in a whole different league compared to that. Well, tall, rich, and handsome. What's a PhD worth? Can a PhD put food on the table? It just sounds good. Do you really think he's going to save up enough for a down payment? You'll be 80 before you're living in a house like Alexander's." Sophia ranted on and on, while Emily remained silent. Finally, she replied, "I'll think about it." I clenched my coffee cup, barely holding back my anger. So, behind my back, they'd been calling me names just because I'm a proctologist. I wanted to stand up and confront them right then and there. "Sophia, did you forget how you begged me when your father needed surgery? Emily, what happened to the vows you made, promising never to abandon me through poverty, wealth, sickness, and health?" Just as I was about to lose my temper and confront them, Sophia suddenly shouted, "Alexander, over here." So, there really was a lover. I followed her gaze and froze. It was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over me. instantly dousing half of my anger. I was completely stunned because I knew this man. Chapter 3. He was the last patient on Friday's clinic list. I remembered his last name was indeed Lou. At the time, I was eager to get home to see Emily, so I was actually glad to see the last patient. That's why I paid extra attention to him. He was well dressed and quite polite. His chief complaint was anal pain and bleeding. Upon examination, it was determined that he had hemorrhoids and would need surgery. I gave him the admission form, but he seemed hesitant, as if he had something else to say. I quickly reassured him, it's just a minor surgery. It will hurt a bit, but with some painkillers, you'll get through it. You should still be proactive in treating it, or it'll keep recurring. He was silent for a moment. Then, as if summoning all his courage, he said, "Doctor, I have a boyfriend. For the sake of our future together, could you avoid using staples and just stitch me up?" I was a bit surprised but quickly replied, "No problem." As a proctologist, I'd seen plenty of cases like this. Stapling can affect bowel elasticity, which indeed impacts certain activities. Stitching is a bit more tedious, but it doesn't interfere with, well, they're still young after all, and that's important. I fully respected his request. He seemed quite pleased and scheduled a bed for the surgery. I never in a million years expected to see him here. So he was the tall, rich, and handsome guy behind the affair. Life really is stranger than fiction. I never imagined I'd find myself in such a dramatic situation. Suddenly, I lost the urge to stand up and confront Emily. Instead, their conversation started to connect with certain things from the past. Chapter 4. I met Emily at the hospital years ago. I was rotating through nephrology, and she came to see the department head in the clinic. Her main complaints were fatigue and what seemed to be nephritis, with a 3+ rating, likely indicating nephritis. The doctor's orders were hospitalization, dialysis, and long-term treatment. She burst into tears right there in the clinic, unable to stop crying. The department head gave me a look. "Go handle it," he said. I led her out of the clinic, explained everything in detail, and patiently comforted her. Later, she became my inpatient. She was very beautiful, but deeply unhappy. Her father was a gambler, and her mother was always leeching off her. When she couldn't afford the surgery, I helped her fund the money. After the biopsy, when no one was there to care for her, I switched to the night shift to stay with her. At first, I had no other intentions, just a medical student's sympathy for a patient. But she grew very dependent on me. Every time I followed the doctors during rounds, her eyes would search for me through the crowd. Maybe it was all those times I wiped her tears or saw her biting her lip in pain with such determination. When the biopsy results were worse than expected and her eyes filled with despair, she cautiously asked if she could break the medication in half to save money. The medication was too expensive for her. My heart slowly began to open up. I really felt sorry for her. We exchanged contact information and often chatted, not just about her illness, but also about topics that young people typically discuss. Later, the treatment didn't go as well as hoped. She clung to me, crying, and asked, "Will I ever get better? Will I never be able to have children? No one will ever want me. I'll never be happy in my life." In that moment, emotions overwhelmed me, and I hugged her tightly, blurting out, "I want you. I'll treat your illness. I'll make you happy." When my professors found out we were together, they all tried to advise me. "You're a doctor. Don't you know what this disease is? This illness will be very troublesome in the future. It may require lifelong treatment, which will be a huge burden on your finances and energy." Even my psychology classmates questioned if what we had was truly love or just a case of the suspension bridge effect. But back then, I was young and full of blind courage, believing in love above all else. I secretly got a vasectomy because she wasn't suitable for pregnancy. I figured that by doing this, we wouldn't have to worry about it. I didn't care about not having children. I worked multiple jobs to help pay for her treatments, and when the steroids made her face swell, I held her and told her that she was the most beautiful woman in the world to me. I knew she had once had a white moonlight in her life, some guy who was supposedly very handsome and wealthy. But that didn't matter. I was grateful to him. If it hadn't been for him stepping aside, I wouldn't have such a wonderful girlfriend now. Chapter 5. Eventually, we got married, vowing to love and support each other for the rest of our lives, never to abandon one another. But as time went on, the everyday realities of life, household chores, financial pressures, and the lack of companionship due to my erratic work schedule that began to strain our fragile love. Her health gradually improved, but our relationship slowly changed. I really did. I took on outpatient shifts, performed surgeries, and traveled to other cities for freelance surgeries. I didn't pass up any opportunity to make more money. While saving up for a house, I also wanted to buy her the designer bags that other wives had. But when I joyfully presented her with a gift, the same woman who used to be thrilled with just an ice cream now dismissively said, "It's just the basic model." It felt like a needle piercing my heart, but I quickly adjusted my mindset. She deserved better after all. However, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't keep up with the speed at which her feelings changed. After 6 months of providing medical aid in the countryside, everything had changed. It turns out that the straw that breaks the camel's back isn't the last one, but every single one before it. She'd reconnected with her white moonlight, but unfortunately, it seemed she didn't know that her white moonlight had a boyfriend. I stood up, dusted off my clothes, and prepared to leave. I should actually thank this guy for showing me who she truly was. Suddenly, I felt it was all pointless. Karma will eventually catch up with those who lack integrity. Chapter 6. I contacted a classmate who's a lawyer to help me draft the divorce agreement. He was stunned. After all, my once unwavering determination now seemed like a bitter joke. Compared to the heartache I was feeling, his attempts at advice fell flat. I cut him off. "Don't bother. It would only make things worse. I'll be fine. Just take care of the divorce agreement." When I got home, I tried several times to talk to her, but she always avoided the conversation, claiming she was tired. She'd close the door, effectively shutting me out. I actually wanted to advise her not to keep the baby. Pregnancy puts additional strain on the kidneys and is very dangerous. But if she doesn't listen, then so be it. I'm not going to humiliate myself. Until the divorce agreement is finalized, I have no desire to talk any further. But soon enough, I ran into her lover again. He got a bed and was admitted to the hospital, and there was a handsome man by his side, attending to him with such care. It was obvious he was his boyfriend. I couldn't help but wonder how someone in such a loving relationship could have ended up getting Emily pregnant. Fortunately, I didn't have to wait long for the mystery to be solved. Emily showed up in the hospital room on the second day after Alexander's surgery. He was wincing in pain, completely dependent on his boyfriend for everything, from eating to using the bathroom. When Emily walked in, she caught sight of one man coaxing another into drinking some soup. "Just take a sip. Just one sip, please." "No, it hurts. The doctor said you can eat now. You need the nutrition after surgery." I said I don't want to. "Well, how about a kiss? Just one kiss, and then you take a sip." Chapter 7. What the hell are you doing? Emily's bag crashed down onto the hospital bed, spilling a bowl of hot soup all over it, turning the scene into utter chaos. What followed was a full-blown mutual affair confrontation. Who is he? Who is she? I'm his boyfriend. I'm his girlfriend. You cheated on me with a woman. You cheated on me with a man. It was a drama too good to miss. I watched as Alexander frantically reached for the other man's hand, his face twisted with panic, stumbling over his words. "Let me explain. She seduced me. You know my family's been pressuring me to have kids. I was under so much stress, I drank too much. I wasn't in my right mind." Emily looked utterly shocked. "You're lying. You told me you missed our college days and wanted to give it another try with me. I just wanted to see if I could go straight again, but the truth is I can't. I had to take meds just to get through that night with you. It made me sick to my stomach, and you kept clinging to me. You're so annoying. You're full of it. I'm pregnant, and you told me to keep the baby. Yeah, have the baby. It'll at least satisfy my family, but we're never getting back together, sweetheart. I'm in love with him." That was the last straw for the other man, who finally lost it and punched Alexander square in the face. "Don't you dare say you love me. You piece of trash. You're not worthy of that word." With that, he turned on his heel and stormed out. I quickly stepped aside to let him pass. Alexander, looking like he was in immense pain, suddenly threw himself off the bed, ignoring the agony, and crawled 2 or 3 meters toward the door. He kept shouting, "Don't go! Don't go!" This was my cue to step in. After all, I'm a doctor, and his wound was tearing open, bleeding through the bandages. I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. I called over some male nurses from the department to help out. As I did, I gently nudged Emily, whose shoulders were shaking with sobs. "Please move aside." She instantly froze, turning her head inch by inch in slow motion, as if performing in a play. When she finally saw me, her expression was nothing short of a masterpiece, shifting through a myriad of emotions. Chapter 8. To be honest, I was quite satisfied. After all, I had anticipated this scene. I had deliberately mentioned the name Alexander during a phone call at home, just loud enough for her to hear. I also knew that Alexander hadn't been paying any attention to her these past few days, leaving her in a low mood. She'd jump up to check her phone every time it buzzed, only to be left frowning and frustrated. The pregnancy symptoms had already started. She couldn't eat or drink, and she was probably desperate for answers. So, I wasn't at all surprised when she showed up at the hospital to confront Alexander. What did surprise me, though, was that after the daytime drama, when I came home from my evening shift, Emily wasn't asleep. She was waiting for me, and sitting beside her was her mother. Emily's eyes were red and swollen, her face pale. Her mother sat there with her arms crossed, looking like she was ready for a serious negotiation. I braced myself, knowing full well how shameless her mother could be after all these years of marriage. "Michael, why are you two fighting? Emily is pregnant, and you're not taking good care of her. I'm so disappointed in you." Even though I was prepared, I was still taken aback. What was going on? I paused, then pulled out the divorce agreement from my pocket, the one my lawyer friend had delivered that afternoon. "You've come at the perfect time. Since you know she's pregnant, you should also know that the child isn't mine." I pushed the agreement toward Emily. "Take a look, and if you have no issues, go ahead and sign it." She suddenly looked at me with wide eyes, as if she had been gravely wronged. Her eyelashes trembled, and tears began to stream down her face. Her mother gently patted her hand to comfort her, then turned to face me. "Michael, you're in the wrong here. Couples argue on one side of the bed and make up on the other. You say the child isn't yours, but where's the proof?" I couldn't help but laugh out of sheer frustration. "If you want scientific proof, we can do an amniocentesis and a DNA test. But I don't think that's necessary. I was away on a medical mission in the countryside for half a year. We didn't even have marital relations." But the old woman's unreasonable demeanor had reached a new level of calmness. "That's just your word against hers. No marital relations? How is that possible? Who can prove it?" I was growing increasingly exasperated. "What kind of proof do you need? Heaven knows, earth knows, I know, and she knows. Ask your daughter, did we have any marital relations? If not, where did this 8-week-old child come from?" At this point, Lily shakily took a couple of steps toward me, her eyes brimming with tears, visibly emotional. "I know you're angry with me. I was wrong. I'll break things off with Ethan, and I know I've neglected you lately. I'll make it up to you." Then, right before my eyes, she unbuttoned the top of her blouse, pulled down her collar, and threw herself into my arms. Chapter 9. I quickly grabbed her by the shoulders, holding her in place. Looking at this mother-daughter pair, I could hardly believe what I was witnessing. Were they seriously expecting me to just accept this and move on? "Alex," Lily's mother said, "you and Lily have been married for so many years without having a child. Clearly, my daughter doesn't have a problem, so the issue must be with you. A couple needs a child to have a complete family. Even though this child isn't yours, if you raise him as your own, who would ever know who the real father is? You two have been together for so long and have such strong feelings for each other. Don't let a little thing like this ruin everything." I couldn't help but laugh in disbelief. A little thing? Cheating and getting pregnant is a little thing? I took a deep breath, ignoring her mother and looking directly at Lily. I enunciated each word clearly. "The reason we don't have children is that I was worried about your health, so I got a vasectomy. The surgery is on record, and there's medical documentation. You can't pin this child on me, and I will never accept a woman who has betrayed me. The divorce is happening. Don't waste your time trying to change my mind, and don't make me lose any more respect for you." With that, I walked out, slamming the door behind me without a second glance, leaving her standing there in shock. Chapter 10. Sitting in my car, the more I thought about it, the more something seemed off. So, I quietly accessed the security cameras I had installed at home when I found out she was pregnant. I'd suspected she might bring her lover to our home, and now those hidden cameras were proving their worth. On the screen, she was sitting on the sofa, crying. Her mother, with hands on her hips, was pacing around, berating her. "Look at you. You married a poor man and then took a gay lover. I can't believe I gave birth to someone as beautiful as you. Now what are you going to do if he doesn't acknowledge this child? If he doesn't acknowledge it, I'll abort it. I'm not having Ethan's child, that bastard. I don't want a divorce. I really don't want a divorce. Abort it? If you abort it, the Liu family won't give you a single cent. You need to have this child, and then you'll never have to worry again. Do you think the Liu family will abandon their own flesh and blood? When the time comes, you'll be the one deciding how much money you want. But if I have this baby, Alex will divorce me. Didn't you hear him? I don't want a divorce. No one will treat me better than he does. My heart felt empty, filled with bitter irony. So, she knew how good I was to her, and yet she still betrayed me. Her mother paced around for a while, and a strong sense of unease welled up within me. Sure enough, it seemed she had come up with a plan. She sat down next to Lily, hugging her. If you don't want a divorce, Mom has a way. You just go ahead and have the baby, and our family will be set for life. I guarantee he won't be able to divorce you. Chapter 11. In the middle of the night, I found myself back in the hospital's on-call room. The on-duty doctor teased me. Director Smith, back again? Did the wife kick you out? I wasn't in the mood for jokes. While washing my hands, I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and noticed a scratch on my neck and a face full of exhaustion. I actually felt a bit sorry for myself. Dana, the nurse on duty, knocked on my door holding a cup of milk, looking like she wanted to say something but hesitated. After a moment, she tentatively stepped forward. Director Smith, you don't look well. Have some milk and try to get some rest. Everything will pass. There was something in her words that made me raise my head in confusion to look at her. She just gave me a bright smile and quickly ran out. When I got to the hospital, I realized that the afternoon's drama had spread throughout the entire department. What they didn't know was that I was also one of the main characters in that drama. I was physically and emotionally drained and really felt like a failure. I didn't go home for several days. Lily sent me many messages, asking when I'd come home so we could talk. I simply replied, there's nothing to discuss. The divorce is non-negotiable. If you don't sign, I'll file a lawsuit. Perhaps because of my firm stance, her mother decided to get involved. On Monday morning during the big ward round, I noticed that the doctors, nurses, and even the patients were all staring at my name badge. It made my skin crawl. A few colleagues who I was close to seemed hesitant, sighing and wanting to say something, but holding back. Even the department head looked at me and shook his head. Alex, as men, we need to show some responsibility. Of course, it's not my place to interfere in your personal matters, but as medical professionals, we need to maintain our reputation. Otherwise, the impact could be severe. I was completely confused all morning. The constant stares made me feel extremely uncomfortable. Chapter 12. During lunch, Nurse Dana sent me a message with a video link. She added a note. Director, I've known you for 5 years, and I know you're a good person. I'll always support you. I felt puzzled. When I clicked on the link, my entire body broke out in goosebumps, and a cold chill ran down my spine. Lily's mother was streaming live online, accusing me of being a heartless man who abandoned his wife. The title read, City Hospital's Alex is inhumane, forcing his wife to have an abortion and then abandoning her. She mentioned my full name, the exact hospital department position I held, all in great detail. She claimed that I had abused my wife during her pregnancy, had an inappropriate relationship with a female nurse, and forced my wife into an abortion and divorce. She recounted how Lily and I had struggled through poverty together until I became an associate chief physician, how we endured so much hardship and suffering, only for me to now cheat on her and turn into a cold and heartless man. With her superb acting skills, she painted me as a villain, a social pariah, and made her story so emotional that it stirred up immense outrage among viewers. When I saw the video, I felt like I was about to explode. People online love a good scandal, and this video quickly went viral. I had no way to defend myself. Society's disdain for scumbags, sympathy for women, and the ongoing public scrutiny of the medical profession all fueled the fire. Some patients even came to my clinic just to throw rotten eggs at me. What used to be a difficult appointment to secure became an empty waiting room, except for those who came to hurl insults. The department suspended my surgeries, citing the negative impact and suggesting that I lay low for a while. I had overestimated people's decency. I expected Lily to be difficult, but I never imagined they would resort to such dirty tactics. I called Lily to ask what she really wanted. As long as we don't divorce, I'll go online and clear your name right away. Can't you forgive me just this once, honey? No way. The divorce is happening. Even if I have to take off this white coat to divorce you, I will. You disgust me too much. Chapter 13. I initially wanted to let things blow over, but now I was forced to step in and defend myself. I had no choice but to create an account and join the online battle. No matter how much I tried to explain that the child wasn't mine, that my wife had cheated, and that I was the real victim, the gossip, hungry public simply didn't believe me. With Lily still pregnant and no DNA test to prove the child wasn't mine, I couldn't fully clear my name. But fortunately, I had video evidence. I uploaded the footage from the hidden camera online, and the internet erupted. Lily's mother tried to defend herself, claiming the video was maliciously edited. She admitted that her daughter had been confused for a moment, but insisted that we were still married and pointed out that the civil code clearly states that a divorce cannot be granted during pregnancy. She had the audacity to bring up the pregnancy. In frustration, I exposed my own privacy, revealing that I had undergone a vasectomy. To my shock, some urologists, trying to ride the wave of attention, chimed in, saying vasectomies aren't 100% effective, that sperm are resilient, and as long as there's one left, a woman can still get pregnant. I was so furious I could hardly stand it. In short, I was dragged into a quagmire where reason and logic were drowned out by noise. This constant back and forth was draining my willpower and severely affecting my work at the hospital. Friends who knew me well started offering advice. One of my lawyer friends suggested that I shouldn't fight the tide, as it would be detrimental to my career. He advised me to handle it quietly and wait until the baby was born so we could do a DNA test. If the child wasn't mine, the truth would eventually come out. But I couldn't stand it. Being tied to this mess for even one more day made me feel like I was drowning in filth. Just when I was at my wit's end, new evidence surfaced. Chapter 14. Someone publicly released a chat log between Lily and Ethan. It clearly showed, "You have the baby, and I'll give you $5 million. If I have the baby, my husband will divorce me. Do you really think he'll forgive you now? Take the money, and you two will be better off. If he truly loves you, he'll agree." This chat record caused quite a stir, but still, it wasn't enough to completely quell public opinion. Shortly after, the uploader released another conversation, this time between Lily's mother and the Liu family. "My daughter is foolish. I'm afraid she'll abort the baby for the sake of her poor husband, so I had no choice but to resort to this plan. Let's keep things steady for now. Once the baby is born, everything will be negotiable. We don't care about the process, only the result. As long as the child is from the Liu family, the money will be transferred immediately." I quickly realized who this person was, Ethan's boyfriend. I had to thank this guy. With more and more evidence in my favor, the witnesses from the day of the mutual affair confrontation also began to speak out, and online opinion started to shift. I went from being the despised, heartless husband to the pitted, cuckolded husband. How utterly humiliating. The good news was that my divorce lawsuit had been accepted by the court. Chapter 15. Because Lily committed adultery during our marriage, I was not bound by Article 1082 of the Civil Code, and divorce was still possible during her pregnancy. When I saw Lily again, she looked unusually haggard. Although she wasn't far along, her face and forehead were noticeably swollen, her eyes were dull, and she wore a loose dress. I couldn't help myself. "I still recommend that you terminate the pregnancy. Your body isn't suited for carrying a child, and the later stages of pregnancy will be very dangerous." Her eyes suddenly lit up with hope. "You care about me? Okay, I'll terminate the pregnancy. Can we not get divorced? Don't misunderstand me. I'm advising you to terminate the pregnancy because I'm a doctor. I don't believe your obstetrician hasn't told you the same thing." The light in her eyes instantly dimmed. "They did, but I won't do it. The only person who could convince me to have an abortion is you." I had nothing more to say. No one can save someone determined to destroy themselves. Since she was at fault, and we didn't have much in terms of assets, the division was straightforward. When her mother saw my stony expression, she sneered, "After being with you, this is all she's left with, just a few worthless items. You call yourself a man? Well, at least we're finally rid of you. My daughter will finally have a better life." Facing this family, I wondered how I had managed to endure them all these years. I pulled out a stack of IOUs from my pocket, all written by her mother over the years. $120,000 for her father's gambling debts, $30,000 for home repairs, $80,000 for her brother's car. That altogether, it amounted to over $400,000. Now that we're divorced, please repay the money you owe. Why should we pay you back? My daughter gave you her youth for free. Mom. Lily looked at me, shocked, silently asking how she didn't know her mother had borrowed so much money from me. I sighed. Your health was poor, and I didn't want to worry you before. Now you need to be more aware. Without me as their source of money, you'll become their next target for exploitation. But that was no longer my concern. As I turned to leave, I didn't forget to add 3 days. Pay up. Chapter 16. Because I trended online, all the embarrassing details of my personal life were laid bare for the public to see. All my friends thought I would be depressed. I did retreat for a few days, but I quickly came to my senses. If others were going to go to great lengths to generate attention, why should I waste the publicity? So, I took advantage of the buzz and launched a personal health education account. I focused on providing information about common proctology issues, early cancer screenings, and post-operative care. I also enthusiastically answered all sorts of questions from the public. Within just a few days, my follower count jumped from 5 digits to 6 digits. Consultations surged, and many patients came specifically seeking me out. People calling me the cuckolded doctor didn't bother me. As a physician, I remained compassionate and committed to my duty. I became popular, and my old classmates started reaching out for advice. Hey man, we've started a cardiology education account. Can you help promote it? No problem. I'll repost it and pin it to the top. Alex, you're really taking off. Your health education content is excellent. We in the ICU want to start something similar. Go for it. Do you think emergency medicine would attract interest? Absolutely. Emergency care is crucial. How many heart attack patients miss the golden 4-minute window? Your department saves lives. You have to get it started. Even my friends in obstetrics and gynecology sought my advice. And I sincerely said, these days, people are anxious about childbirth, and infertility is becoming more common. Your field is incredibly important. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. In the age of social media, health education by doctors is not only meaningful, but also highly popular. My old classmate was quite happy, but then hesitantly said, Hey, Sue, there's something I need to tell you. I was puzzled. What's up? Your ex-wife? She's coming to my hospital for prenatal checkups. Now her creatine levels are over 200 and her whole body is severely swollen. She fainted a few days ago and kept calling your name. I felt a bit awkward. You said it yourself. She's my ex-wife. It's got nothing to do with me. I know. But I'm just thinking maybe you could talk to her. It's really dangerous. She can't have this baby without risking her life. I thought about it, but didn't agree. I had already said everything I needed to say, and I really didn't want to have any more involvement with Lily. But not long after that, one night, I received a call from my classmate. There was a lot of noise in the background, and then I heard Lily's voice. Jingchen, come see me. Didn't you say you love me the most? Please come see me. Then the phone was passed to someone else, and my classmate's voice came through. Buddy, I didn't want to bother you, but she refuses to go into the operating room unless she talks to you. After the divorce, I had blocked all of Lily's contact information. It seems she knew this classmate of mine and had deliberately chosen this hospital to register at. I rubbed my forehead, feeling very frustrated. What's the situation? Placental abruption, heavy bleeding. She's refusing to go into surgery and is holding us up. Her mom insists on saving the baby, and she insists on calling you. What do you say? Are you coming? No, I'm not coming. I'm the ex-husband. I'm not qualified to sign anything. Give her the phone. I'll say a few words to her. I could hear her labored breathing, the pace quickening. Stop this nonsense. I'm not coming. If you're so reckless with your own life, I have no respect for you. With that, I hung up the phone, feeling unusually calm. Chapter 17. In the following weeks, I received several more calls from her. Some were tearful, others incoherent. As soon as I recognized her voice, I hung up every time. At the end of the year, there was a reunion with my medical school classmates. They pushed me into the main seat like a star. One of the OBGYN classmates leaned in next to me. Sue, I really can't hold back from telling you something. Hey, this classmate is just as gossipy as back in school. Your ex-wife, remember? In her case of placental abruption, her mom insisted on saving the baby, causing all sorts of trouble in our department. There was so much crying and drama. So we did our best to keep the pregnancy. She stayed in bed completely immobile for 3 weeks, getting blood transfusions every day. But then she developed an intrauterine infection. The baby didn't make it, and she almost didn't either. In the end, our department had got into a heated argument with the family and had to perform a hysterectomy to save her life. I was shocked, instinctively placing a hand on my chest. Seeing my reaction, she patted my shoulder. She's your ex-wife, so don't feel sorry for her. Honestly, she got what she deserved. But she really had a terrible mother. When the baby died, her mom cried like she had lost 5 million yuan. But when her daughter almost died, she didn't even react. They still haven't paid the outstanding hospital fees. I shook my head. I didn't feel sorry for her. In fact, I was surprised that I didn't feel anything at all. It was only the compassion of a doctor for an unfortunate case. Where there is love, there is sorrow. Where there is love, there is fear. But without love, there's no hate either. I felt completely calm, as if she were just a stranger. At that moment, an orthopedic classmate joined us. Hey, let me tell you some good news. That Ethan guy, he hadn't come out yet. After all this, his whole family found out, and it was a huge scandal. The old man of the Liu family was so furious that he broke his leg. The guy's lying there with a broken leg, still talking about his boyfriend. Such a lovesick fool. But the boyfriend hasn't visited him even once. I nodded. It was an amusing bit of gossip, but it had nothing to do with me. I felt joy at having fully recovered from my long-standing emotional wounds. I toasted with my classmates, feeling like a new person. Let's enjoy tonight. No going home sober. No way. I have surgery tomorrow. I'm on duty tomorrow. Not a drop for me, just soda. It's peak season for adverse reactions. I need to be ready at all times. I looked at these friends, all fighting on the front lines of healthcare. I felt ashamed for ever complaining about the busy workload or the pay. Is there any profession more sacred than saving lives? Chapter 18. On the last working day before New Year's, due to my proactive involvement in medical outreach and significant contributions to public health education, I was promoted to chief physician ahead of schedule. The new hospital campus came with family housing, and I just qualified to receive an apartment. With a fully furnished unit, I finally had a home in this city. I was thrilled, and the entire department organized a celebration for me. I waved it off, saying, "Don't trouble the organization. I'll treat everyone." My colleagues cheered, "Long live Director Su." We drank a bit too much that day. As the party wound down, Nurse Dana offered to help me. I deliberately ignored the winks and grins from a few other nurses. "You're a girl. I should be the one to see you home, Director Su. I didn't drink and I can drive. Let me take you home." All right. We both lived in the family housing area, so it was on the way. I relaxed into the passenger seat, closing my eyes to rest. The warmth of the car's heater and the faint scent of her perfume filled the air. The ride was quiet, a bit awkward. When we arrived at the family housing building, I got out of the car and immediately noticed a figure standing in the shadows of the trees. It startled me. As I looked closer, I realized it was Lily. She was so thin, she was almost unrecognizable. Even with makeup, she couldn't hide her haggard appearance. When she saw me with another woman, she swayed slightly. She softly uttered, "Husband." I was thoroughly annoyed and walked past her as if she didn't exist. She grabbed my hand, trembling all over, tears streaming down her face. "Husband, are you really going to leave me? Didn't you say that if no one else wanted me, you would? That you would treat my illness? I have kidney failure now, and my mother won't get me treatment. Husband, I'm in so much pain." I fought back my discomfort. I had already been drinking, and now I felt even more nauseous. "I'm your ex-husband. I have no obligation to you. I'm sorry. I was wrong. It was just that one time, just once. I just felt like we were too dull. Please forgive me. I'll never do it again." Before I could respond, Nurse Dana stepped forward, forcefully pushing Lily's hand away. "You've got some nerve. You couldn't respect yourself or appreciate what you had, and now you come here playing the victim? Do you want to die? Call 120 for an ambulance." I was startled by her boldness, but then she turned to me. "Director Su, you really have poor taste." I reflexively nodded, agreeing that it wasn't great. As soon as she finished speaking, Lily became even more desperate. "Husband, I'll change. I really will. That's enough. Who are you calling husband? He's my husband." Now both Lily and I stared at her in shock, and she continued, full of righteous indignation, "If you keep harassing us, we'll call the police." "Got it. Now get out of here and don't expect us to see you off." With that, she hooked her arm around mine and led me through the entrance of the apartment complex. Once inside, the awkwardness finally hit us. I looked up at the sky, and before she could say anything, I quickly spoke. "When it comes to confessions, the guy should be the first to say it. My heart is in the process of moving. Soon, once it's all cleaned up, it will be ready to welcome its new owner." She looked at me, her eyes sparkling with a hint of hope. I knew she had liked me for a long time. Maybe this time I would meet the right person. In the distance, fireworks lit up the sky. The new year had arrived. I hoped I could find new happiness too.